keep everything on focus. Yeah, that's what's going in. And I also brought some pens and stuff that you could take with you for attending tonight. We're ready? With all the impacted customers and decisions have been made on where the meter will be going, we're going to start the project. What we have to do here is we have to install 30,000 feet of gas main, that plastic main that I showed you. Basically, that's 5 miles if you think about it. It's quite a lot of pipe. We have 596, I understand, services to run. So after we get the pipe in the ground and get it pressured up and ready to go, we'll then begin installing individual service lines to each resident and business. We're going to be using a method called directional boring or directional drilling. Joe. And this is what you will see. A directional drilling machine, and what it does, it has a bore head on it that will dig underground. And it'll go the approximate distance that we need, approximately 3 feet underground. We'll be doing this in the parkway outside of the street. And because of all of the existing utilities that are already underground and the protection that you may need, we're only going to be able to go about 500 feet at a time. But it is a very less invasive process. We'll be able to go around or under trees. Small holes will have to be dug as opposed to a lot of open cutting. Once the bore head goes the distance that it's able to go, it'll come back and it'll ream out a proper size hole, and then they'll be able to pull through that whole system the plastic gas main. Once this is all done, they will liven it up, and then they will use the directional bore machine to do the same process to turn and start shooting the services towards the house. Typically, that'll be about a half-inch service for most of our customers here. So, we're talking about a March start date. We have the project will take on about 4 phases to it. The first phase that we expect to start in the early part of March will be up in the northwest quadrant of the map that you had saw earlier. The second phase will move to the south, so it'll be in the southwest quadrant. The third phase will then move back up into the northeast quadrant, closer to the university. And then the final last phases will be in the south and the southeast quadrant, which will finish everything up. We expect that part of the project to go through the spring and in through the summer. As we are putting in this gas main and gas services, we are going to be digging up the parkway. And there will be times that we're going to have to open up the street. Our gas main, our old gas main, is currently in the street, so we're going to have to open up potholing, as it's called, but basically small holes to watch the directional boring go through without hitting our utilities or any other utilities that may be underground. And as we'll go into the question time, we'll talk about how the restoration will be for that. We're committed to completely restoring it back to original condition using sod as well as asphalt and or concrete wherever necessary. Once we are completed with the gas main and putting in the gas services for each resident or business, then we'll move to connecting that new system to a customer's existing system. And we expect that to start maybe late spring through the summertime as we move along. This is a time where we will have an appointment made with the customer. We want to get in there with Nicor pipe fitters, and it'll take about 2 to 3 hours in a normal process. Your gas will be off. We will connect to the new service. We will remove the old meter, and we will permanently retire the existing service that's coming into your foundation. At that point, we'll be doing a safety check. where we will be going through your house, not only relighting your appliances, but actually looking to see if everything is safe. We're looking for any potential hazardous type piping that you may have. And one of the things that we're really going to be looking for is this. This is a brass appliance connector. It hasn't been made in 20, 30 years, but they are considered hazardous piping. An excellent idea, and you could still use them today with a much safer appliance connector here. But the problem with this one initially was that it was soldered and the brass was soft, and if it got some type of chemical on it, it could corrode or erode away. If we find one in your home, in your business, on your dryer or on your stove, we'll replace it immediately. We'll carry along appropriate modern appliance connectors and make sure that everything's fine. Again, we expect this whole process to take 2 to 3 hours. We will then reconnect your gas, and we'll be on our way. At that point, most likely, most if not all, the restoration will be done. We are complete with you. This system is one that doesn't require corrosion process review. Basically, it's a system that should last forever. We should not have to come back to be in your home for it. This is the phone numbers that we're going to be using for those that have not made an appointment for us yet before we start. And once we're completed with the project and need to come back into your home, this will be the number for you to contact us to make an appointment. Now, while we say that, the weekday time frame is there where we have staff on board to accept the phone calls as they come in, you could leave a message. We do plan on working around your schedule. Many people may not be available during normal business hours. Maybe it needs to be a weekend, maybe it needs to be an after-hours appointment. We will be doing that. But a critical thing that we'll talk about momentarily is the need for you to contact us and make an appointment as quick as possible. And that has to do with the fact that we've put a very aggressive schedule to this project. We are hoping to get started and completed. That means all restoration done and the retirement of our gas main in this area and be done within the year by the 1st of December. When we talk about it internally as a time schedule, the installation of a gas main, the installation of the gas services, we could have a pretty good understanding of how much time it's going to take for us in each phase as we work through. When we talk about the connection to a person's gas fuel line, it becomes an unknown. To make this work would be a customer or all customers to get a hold of us and let's get it done. We cannot retire our old gas service our old gas main until everybody's connected to the new gas service. And of course, weather is going to be another issue that may impact us as we try to stay on this aggressive schedule. But if the customers do give us a call and make timely appointments, we should be able to meet our time frame. We also have a lot of experience in dealing with homes that are empty or vacant or tenant-landlord issues. So we'll be able to work around those ourselves. But for those that are people that are living in the homes or businesses, please make a timely appointment with us, get it done, 2-3 hours of your time, and it's all through. This is the people that will be on the project and to be contacted. The supervisors, Bill and Mary, will be around on an ongoing basis. They will be fielding phone calls from people that have questions that pop up. They will be on site, and you may be having to leave a message, which they'll be picking up. But I can assure you that our intent is that if you leave a voicemail message for Bill, Mary, Ken, or myself, our goal is that we will try to get back to you and hopefully with an answer within 24 working hours. When it comes to a restoration issue, whether it's grass sod, asphalt, paving or whatever, our supervisor of paving and landscaping, Ken Heath, will handle it. And from an overall perspective, I'll be a contact person to handle issues that Bill, Mary, or Ken cannot handle. And now we'll get into questions. Yes?
A couple of things. Number one, you said that the main is now going to go down the parkway?
Yes.
On one particular side of the street?
Oh, excuse me.
Sure. Name and address? I'm John Spesco, 1120 Noyes Street. I presume then that the main is going to go down one parkway or one side of the street then, and so there would only be one side of the street that would be disturbed in terms of the parkway and having to be restored?
Excellent question. The fact is you're right. It will be going down one side of the street. But because of the numerous utilities that are involved in the street and in the parkway on both sides, most likely what will happen is when a service has to be shot under the street, what we would call a long-side service, or a house that needs to be served on the other side of the street, there'll actually be two openings, one at the top of the main and then one on the other side of the street in the parkway at the person's house, so they can bring it up, make sure everything is right, and do the final shot right to the house, or the boring in itself. The holes will probably be about 4 feet by 5 feet for us to work effectively, and restoration will be done afterwards.
Okay, and the second question about making appointments for bringing the service to the house, I presume that we sort of have to wait for that main to come in before we could even call and have some idea of when you'd want to bring the service to the house.
Actually, what we're doing right now, and what we've talked to most of the residents already, is we will know the location of the service and have actually marked out the spot. That's where the current locate wire is going to be.
It's marked in front of my house.
Okay. They'll set the meter set. So basically the service will be brought in, the meter set will be set there, and the appointment will come after the fact. So now you'll have a meter set there waiting for a new meter to be brought in. That's where the appointment will come into play. So at the end, when we have left the area, you see the meter set there, the Nicor staff people around will be contacting or making requests that now's the time we need to be making an appointment. So they'll ask you to do it.
And I presume we have to clean out our basement wherever the meter is so they could actually work in there.
Would be nice. Would be nice. Ma'am, you said you had a question. Microphone will come to you.
How long, Lisa Pildis, 2111 Ridge. How long is that plastic pipe going to last?
Good question. Nicor has been working with this medium-density polyethylene since 1990. So the industry in itself has been using it for a number of years, and it's been very common in Europe. I did ask one of our engineers one time, I kind of posed the question to him because we are looking outward on it. He felt comfortable saying 50 years, I mean, possibly 100. So I would say a good answer is, how long will it last? Long, long past the time that we'll be out of our homes. Any other questions? Joe, gentleman over there.
Yeah, I'm Dave Grumman. I live at 1332 Forest, which is not in the area affected, but I'm a member of the Energy Commission, Evanston Energy Commission. And I had a few questions,
Sure.
if I might. When you say retire existing piping, I gather you mean you just leave it in place. It just isn't functional anymore.
Right, but under pipeline safety rules, you have to do something, you have to do a few things very specific to retirement in place. One of the things you have to do is you have to cut and separate the pipe. The pipe, the old pipe itself, will not be able to be used for anything more. You're not going to be able to run wires through it or come up with some other type of utility that may want to use it. So it will be segmented. It'll have to be cut off from its support where they have other junctions where they meet together, and it'll have to be capped. So at every cut that we make, there'll be a capping to it. There is a chemical on the inside that we put in called mercaptan. And with a cast iron main, which is bell joints, typically they'll have a chance where the water will get inside. By capping it, should avoid any of the future smells or anything like that. It will remain in place, but there is a specific process that has to be done in order to retire a main.
Okay, I have several questions. You mentioned this as being pressure pipe. Can you specify or tell us what the pressure difference is between the new pipe and what was in the old mains?
Absolutely. Another great question. Low pressure. Technical terms, 6 to 7 inches of water column, a quarter-pound pressure, but to make it easy for a layman, your breath. Blow on your hand. That is the pressure of a low-pressure system. Higher pressure system here is one that's going to be about 60 pounds. It will require a regulator at the site of the meter. So your meter set will have a regulator on it, which will take that 60-pound gas and reduce it down to the low pressure that you need to go into your home. The modern high-pressure system is actually the preferred one. It has a lot of benefits to it. And the low-pressure system, while it was very good in its time, is an older system that's really no longer in use. And eventually, we at Nicor will be done with low-pressure gas main systems.
And I presume this is the reason you can use smaller diameter pipe, too.
That is exactly right. One of the benefits is that with the higher pressure gas, as you're doing piping work, or from an economic development standpoint, businesses may want to bring in gas appliances that require higher pressure delivery, higher than the low pressure can provide. This gas will allow for different regulators. You could have a regulator system put in that may deliver 2 pounds of pressure, so that the customer then could have it ramped down to whatever pressures a particular piece of gas equipment may need, a generator, for example, or some of the commercial roofing heat appliances require a higher pressure delivery. This has a benefit to using smaller diameter pipe, as well as making it easier for some of the more modern gas appliances to use higher pressure delivery.
Okay, next question. Generally, how, all things being equal, how deep or what range of depth would this generally, would the new pipe generally run?
Under federal pipeline regulations, a gas main or a petroleum line needs to be 30 inches underground. Typically, what you're going to find here is we'll go down about 3 feet. The gas mains in the street right now are about 4 feet. As we talk about the services, they typically may start out at 2 feet and work their way up at an angle as they get closer to the home. They may be only a foot under the ground, but about 2 foot for the service coming from the gas main, and as it reaches the home, it'll be shallower.
Final question. Everything goes well, there won't be any leaks, but you know, sometimes there are. How do you test for leaks, possible leaks that might occur in the installation?
Oh, okay, in the installation. From an installation end, this is...
after it's installed,
sure.
Whatever.
Well, let's take that question and break it into 2 questions. When the pipe is installed, how do we test it? It has to be pressure tested. As I mentioned, the system that we're going to be putting in is 60 pounds, but we pressure test it much higher than that, and it has to hold its pressure for a specific amount of time, again, under federal pipeline regulations. So from the initial installation, it is tested. As far as taking a hit to our system, how do we know we have a gas leak? Under a plastic, it pretty much, if somebody puts a shovel to it, it's going to break. A backhoe definitely is going to break. And that's not a bad thing. And with the 60-pound system, we're going to know pretty quick because it's going to force that gas up. And the properties of gas is lighter than air, so it's going to come to the surface and then rise. The mercaptan is going to be a chemical that will identify as a smell. But the best part of it is that it's going to be a system that we're going to have to fix pretty much immediately. If nobody puts a shovel in the ground and hits this system once it's installed, we don't think you're going to have a problem at all. But there will be a lot of construction around the area going forward. And with the higher pressure system, once we take a hit, there's a very good chance that the pressure will be able to be strong enough to hold the gas to the neighboring businesses and homes in that area, where we can continue to feed our customers gas and focus on the area that's been hit. Squeeze off. With plastic, you actually squeeze it down, separate it out, cut in a new piece of plastic main, and bring it back up. And the loss for customers in the immediate area could be as minimal as none. Another advantage to it.
Just following up, what would you be testing at? What's the pressure you'd be testing it at?
100 pounds.
Excuse me?
They use 100 pounds
100 pounds.
of nitrogen, and they have to hold it for a specific amount of time.
Thank you.
If there's no other questions, I'd actually, well, fine.
My name's Bob Doyle, and I own property at 2010 Maple.
Mm-hmm.
I don't live there. I don't know that I'm going to have anyone there during the summer. How do I make sure that I can participate properly?
Have we tried to contact you yet? No. Is your gas meter inside your home right now, or is it outside? You said you don't live there, but have you?
I don't live
by?
there. I don't, if it's not a problem, I don't look for it.
Yeah, well, because I did mention at the beginning, because we've already done some projects at the request of the city or state, some of the homes and businesses have already been converted over to the more modern system. But what I would like to do is talk to you after this is over with, if you stick around, and I'll get your address. We'll make a contact internally to see if you're on the list, and if you are, we'll call you directly, and I'll leave you with an information piece with the contact information you could take with you for a future appointment if you need to make it. But we'll work with you directly right after this meeting.
Thank you.
Hi, John Spesco again, 1120 Noise. The other fellow brought up a really good point. You had mentioned that as the pipe comes up to the house,
Mm-hmm.
it would be coming up from 3 feet down or what have you. I'm curious, is there any possibility that if I were putting in a shrub later on, a couple of years later, that I could actually damage this pipe with a shovel?
Yes, you could.
By hand?
And that's why we have the Julie one-call system. And actually, I brought for people who wanted the magnet of all the colors that go out for the various utilities and the call numbers that they have. Julie one-call system is a simple phone number, 811. Whether you're putting in bushes or a mailbox or doing any digging, please, I would recommend call. It's a simple process. And what you're doing is you're identifying your address. You're telling a call operator that works for a Julie. It's actually made up of utility companies, and it's a call center. You'll advise them what you're doing and where you're going to do it. And they will contact all the utilities, including the cities involved, or in this case, the city of Evanston. And if you will be needing to work throughout your whole property line, they'll mark it through your whole address line. If it's something as simple as a bush or a mailbox, for example, like a rural mailbox, and you advise them that you're going to white paint the area, that's the color you use to mark it out, they will send out notices, and every utility will stop by. We use a contractor that used to go under the name of SM&P. They mark for gas, electric, and cable, Comcast cable. They will paint where their locations are at underground. And if they're not in the area, they will actually put a flag in there and mark all clear. When you get ready to dig, you will know what is underground there. And if it so happens that they mark right through where you plan on it to say, your gas service is right there, you may want to do one of two things. Be very careful when you dig, or don't dig very deep. Or maybe you just want to move your shrub or whatever to another location to avoid it.
Is there any cost for having this stuff?
There is no cost. It's all bore by the utility companies. And in fact, once you have it marked, the markings under the Julie laws are good for 14 days. So if you are calling to do something tomorrow or a week from, well, it's actually a 48-hour call-in. So let's say you're going to do something 3 days from now, you call it in today, you're ready to go. If you decide you want to do it next month, the markings are technically only good for 14 days. So within a 2-week period, you need to do the call.
Okay, but going back to the durability of the line, I mean, obviously, if I have a metal shovel, it's really hard to make a break in a metal in a cast iron pipe.
Right.
How tough is that? I mean, what is it going to be able to take?
Okay. Well, first off, let me say it this way. Knife to butter, which means if you put in there, you're most likely going to break it. But I want to show you something that's going to go on this gas main here. I already had a talk with Tom, who I think left Division Fire Chief. I do fire department training, and I'm scheduled to train firefighters at the end of the month here. And we were going over this. There is another piece on here that is going to be going on to your gas service. It's called an excess flow valve. There's two different types, but if you focus in on this one, you can kind of see that there's a black outline here. What that is that there is a part in here. It's basically made up of a spring and a piece of plastic. And with a 60-pound system, you're going to have gas pressure from the gas main all the way to your regulator, equalized pressure, which means it's going to sit here wide open. If you are digging that bush and made a mistake and accidentally hit your gas service, you're going to have unequal pressure instantly at the area of where the shovel went in. The 60 pounds of gas will shove that piece right up into the pipe, and it'll effectively stop the flow of gas. Now, we ordered these that we wanted to leak out a little bit of gas, so we're able to identify that we have a problem, and it'll tip us off that it's an excess flow valve. And we actually put a metal ID part onto the gas meter. Our mechanics can come out there, realize what's going on, verify from looking at your meter, looking for this little tag, and say, I'll repair the plastic pipe, and at the same time, I'll do what's necessary for the excess flow valve. So yes, you may hit it, but you're going to have a safety piece on here to make it safe immediately.
Thank you.
Let me do some questions too. Oh, there's another one? Okay.
So it's 3 feet under at the parkway,
Correct.
and then it slopes up to where the meter is on the house.
Typically,
what
they're
about
going to
freeze-thaw? I mean, it's not
about
fair-
what?
Freeze and thaw.
It won't have that impact. Right now, you're probably at 30 inches of frost. It won't have that impact, especially on a system like this. As long as there's no water in the system, which this is now a sealed system, it's not an issue that it'll be there. It's almost a non-issue. The freezing and thawing won't impact your gas service at all.
What about rodents?
About what?
Rodents, animals chewing
It's
About animals chewing on it underground or birds?
Well, it's pretty deep. I don't think an animal is going to be doing it. In the 13 years I've been working in the company and that, I haven't been aware of ever hearing an issue such as that coming into play.
But you don't have to follow up,
Sure.
your pipe is coming up on the outside.
Right. As it comes up on the riser, there's a transitional fitting that goes on it. The plastic will be under the ground. There is a different type of fitting that goes into it as it gets up to the meter set, is what I'm trying to say. So when you see your end product, you're going to see a metal meter stand. You'll see a yellow locate wire that'll be wrapped around it. But in order to find the plastic, you'll literally have to take a shovel and start digging straight down before you'll start seeing the yellow plastic. It has to stay underground.
That's the question. How far down?
Well, as it's coming up, it'll probably be 6-8 inches or more that you'll have to dig before you even begin to see the plastic, because that's where the transitional fitting will start coming into play. Let me do a couple myself that, in dealing with main projects like this that seem to come up. Let me start with restoration. Always seems to be the biggest issue. We make a commitment to you to restore the parkway, the street, the sidewalk, whatever we damage back to its original condition. The timing of it is very important. In a project like this, we're going to be following behind the project as it moves along. We have a contractor who does solely the dirt and the sod. We have a second contractor who handles our asphalt and concrete. As it relates to working in the parkway, they're going to be coming behind us and redoing it, and you can expect a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks behind. Once we get done with the backfill, and then we'll come in and do the permanent restoration. The asphalt and concrete, it's going to be a little different, but it's going to stay in the same schedule that we do for our normal work around here. We work with the city of Evanston, and once a month, our contractor comes into town and has all of his work, whether it's coming out of this project or any additional work that we have to do in the town. And he doesn't leave Evanston until he completes all of his work orders throughout the town. So you could figure it'll be in a 30-day period, we'll get to anything that's in front of your home or your business that needs to be done. There may be a time that we just backfill and we don't go at it right away at all. And that could be because we have tie-in points or we have to do some additional work. And instead of making a permanent repair, we're just going to do a temporary, whether it be a temporary asphalt covering or maybe just temporarily pushing the dirt back in. And if you call up and ask about that, and they may answer, somebody like Bill or Mary or somebody from the company say, no, we have to get back in there. It's a tie-in point, or we have to do something else. We won't make the permanent repair until we're done. Another question that you may see happen that would tie into restoration is the fact that I mentioned that we only go about 500 feet. This directional bore is going to be a limited shot. When you think of a block is about 660 feet, so we really can't shoot a whole block. And it could be that you look out in front of your home and you see this directional drilling machine or boring machine is out in the parkway in front of your house, and you notice that they've dug a large hole, and they go to one side of the hole with their machine and they bore, and then they go to the other side of the hole and they bore. And what they're basically doing is to maximize, they're shooting in one direction, stepping back and shooting the other, and they're tying it in to get maximum distance. What's going to happen then is that 4 by 5 foot hole in front of your house is going to be much larger. The commitment there is you will get restoration back 100%, sod, not seed. But you may be one of those that ultimately have something in front of your home that's more actual parkway damage than a normal one down the block. Some of the other, pardon? They're not loud. The directional drilling machine just has a kind of a hum to it. I think your truck traffic issues, with your trucks involved, are going to be there. The city of Evanston has a number of ordinances that Nicor will be following. They have staff that works with us, and we've done a lot of work in Evanston already. Exact same type of project. Again, Ridge and Sheridan is in this area that we've always worked on. And I'm going to add one more. While we're doing a main replacement in this area discussed, the city has a project slightly south along Sheridan Road that they're going to be working on. It's a street reconstruction that our gas main is in conflict. So we're going to be doing a similar, actually an exact replica of it for what's basically moving our gas main out of the way to the south. So in effect, we're going to have two projects going on at one time. As it relates to a question maybe for parking, for example, we work with the city on putting up parking signs just in front of where we're going to be. There's an ordinance of letting the residents know beforehand. We will follow that. And our goal is to continually move forward, move up, put our parking signs up, get our job done, and continue to move forward that way. Again, everything's done with the city of Evanston and the ordinance that come into play with it. Trying to think of some other questions that come about. But before I do, there may be a time that you can have talked with Nicor or we had this discussion tonight for a town hall meeting, but something comes up the day of. Maybe a question of, there's a tree there and how we're going to work around it. Just a general question that may pop up. The people from NPL are real good. If it's a simple, quick question, don't be afraid to ask them. They have a supervisor that I've worked with the past, is very good with customers and be more than happy to answer your simple question. If a Nicor employee is around, definitely ask them because they're going to be able to help you. Or if it's something more than a traditional issue that's popped up, they'll be able to get Mary or Bill or myself involved. One other thing that may pop up is the fact that it's July and we're working in front of your home. We dug it up, and you notice that the contractor, Ranieri Landscaping, has come by and that they put down black dirt and they prepped it real nice and left. And that's because of the time of year. Sod doesn't do very well in summer. So we're going to come back, or they will come back, I should say, at a more convenient time where the weather is conducive to putting sod down. So if you see that we have left it looking nice, but where's your sod, we'll probably come back later when we could put the sod down and have a better chance for it to survive. Any other questions? Again, Nicor will be around on site, as well as the city may, if there's something pops up, can direct it. Yes.
Thank you. I have two questions.
Sure.
Does this complete the upgrade of all of Evanston for the higher pressure gas lines, or will you be doing this again sometime? I
think we'll be doing it again. This is just pretty much filling in that northeast quadrant, which will be done. And when you think of the size of Evanston and the quadrant itself, it doesn't sound like it's that big. But a 30,000 foot or 5 miles worth of gas main and almost 600 customers, to put it in perspective, is the same size of a project that we just completed last year in Riverside. We did the whole town of Riverside with what we're doing just for this, finishing up this northeast quadrant. We do have a lot more low-pressure gas main here to the south and to the west. A lot of it was changed out to the north a few years ago when we had an issue with the water from the water main. But it'll be ongoing. Though nothing is absolutely final, we are doing a review of what are we going to do next, and it may be followed up immediately after or a little bit down the line. But the next phase of project may be too large to get done in 1 year. So our engineers are going to have to design it so that they can work it so that the system is still solid, but then cut it up to get a major project done 1 year and then a follow-up with a major project thereafter. Once that's complete, the feeling is anything thereafter are going to be just little pockets of removing the low pressure to higher pressure. It's very possible in the next few years, most if not all of Evanston could very well be done.
Okay, thank you. The second question is, are our parkway trees going to be in danger for this, or how are you going to be protecting them?
We've been doing this for quite a while, and we have a little expertise in that area. The directional drilling is wonderful. The first 12 inches of a drip line is the most important, although the root system does go down more. The ability to push the main either off to the, well, there's only so much room in a parkway. The line is going to have to be what it is, but it can get below the trees. Having the gas main itself below the trees isn't a problem. What we do want to do is to minimize the gas service in itself. And I'm going to take a second to grab this again because we are going to try to avoid having the service line inside or underneath the drip line of a tree. Now, our services traditionally are a 90-degree shot where they're going to be straight 90 degrees. We do have some flexibility in moving to try to get to the outside of a drip line or slightly moving that degree angle so we can avoid it. We're very cognizant of the trees, and we try to do some things that will minimize, if not avoid, putting them within a drip line.
Good evening. My name is Paul Schneider. I am the city engineer. I would like to thank Jim and Nicor for coming out this evening and being available for us to answer these questions. I do want to let everyone know that this project will be processed under a permit with the city of Evanston, actually through our traffic engineering permit section. If you ever feel a need to call the city, in addition to all the numbers and people that Jim have provided to us, please do feel free to call our right-of-way permits engineer. His name is Junenario. His number is area code 847-866-2922. So if you ever feel like you need to talk to the city, that's the place to start. June will be in contact with the Nicor people on a daily basis. And as Jim said, they've done a lot of work in town, so I think we've got a pretty good working relationship. It's a big project, and certainly I want to thank everyone for their patience in advance. And hopefully we'll minimize any of the impacts to our ability. So thank you for coming out tonight, and thank Jim and Nicor for being here.
I